forefront? Is that still in the cards? Or will the players' ego not allow them to agree to this deal? Is a 50-50 rev share split the hill that they want to die on? Are they saying, you know what? You can give us whatever offer you want to give us. We're not going to accept anyway, because if they don't accept this deal, what more can the owners give up?
The frustration in his voice wasn't just about a negotiation. It was a deep, gnawing disbelief. Because the WNBA has just presented an offer that on the surface should have been the end of it all. We're talking about maximum contracts soaring past $1 million, up to $1.1 million, minimum salaries leaping from a mere $78,000 to a substantial $220,000. And the average player salary is projected to hit a remarkable $460,000. You'd think, right, that with numbers like these, the Players Association leadership would be signing on the dotted line immediately. But here we are, and the whispers suggest they might still walk away. So it forces us to ask the most critical question: what exactly are they still negotiating for at this point?
WNBA's current CBA proposal includes a max salary of more than $1.1 million. We heard reports of $1 million. We heard reports of $850,000. And now we're hearing $1.1 million, the biggest number yet. I don't know what they're paying these ladies in Unrivaled, but that seems more than competitive. Much more than competitive.
Let's really try to grasp the magnitude of these proposed figures. Under the current collective bargaining agreement, which is set to expire on November 30th, the absolute lowest a rookie can earn is $78,000. For the veterans at the very end of the bench, their season earnings hover around a modest $62,000. And the absolute ceiling for a contract right now? That's $241,000 annually. This new proposal isn't just about making those numbers a little better. It's about shattering them. We're looking at a potential increase of 182% for rookie minimums, a staggering 400% jump for those maximum contracts. These aren't the kinds of minor adjustments you typically see after weeks or even months of back-and-forth haggling. This feels more like the league saying, here, this is everything we can possibly give you, everything that keeps our franchises financially stable, and then some.
Maybe Project B is putting some pressure on the WNBA, like, you know what? We got to offer $1 million contracts. You know what? We got to give $1 million contracts. We at least want to retain some of these ladies. If anything, Project B is the alternative after the WNBA season. That's what they're thinking. If anything, Project B is the alternative after the WNBA season. They're not going to go to the Euro League. They're not going to go play in Australia. They're going to go play in Project B. Get your $1 million here. Get your $1 million over there in Project B. Unrivaled seems, I don't have their finances, but this can very well price Unrivaled out of the market.
And here's what makes this proposal so incredibly significant. It includes actual revenue sharing. This has been the absolute core demand, the non-negotiable point for the Players Association since they decided to opt out of the current CBA way back in 2024. This isn't some token gesture, some small percentage tossed in to make them feel heard. This is a framework for revenue sharing that is designed to grow year after year over the entire term of the deal. The league, in essence, is handing them the very blueprint they've been asking for. They're offering the salary increases they've demanded. They're providing the financial security they've repeatedly stated they need.
In the league, you're not negotiating for yourself. You're negotiating for the other 170 plus ladies in the league. You're negotiating for the Juju Watkins coming in. You want Juju Watkins to come in and not have an American professional league to go to? That seems very selfish. You want Sarah Strong to come in and not have a professional league to go to? You want Hannah Doggo to come in and not have a professional league to go to? You want Malaysia Fawawi to come in and not have a professional league to go to? You want AZ Foot to come in and not have a professional league to go to? You want to make them dance with one arm behind their back like a circus clown in Unrivaled? You want to have them make a moral choice whether they want to go to Project B?
But you know, there's a twist. A complication that most people aren't openly discussing, and it's a pretty big one. The three individuals who are currently leading these crucial negotiations on behalf of the players: Nneka Ogwumike, the president of the Players Association, and WNBA stars Breanna Stewart and Chiney Ogwumike. Oh wait, no, it's Nneka Ogwumike, Breanna Stewart, and Natasha Cloud. My apologies, a slight slip there. Anyway, these three leaders have direct financial stakes in a competing league. It's a league called Unrivaled, a 3-on-3 league that's slated to launch in January. So the very people who are supposed to be advocating for the best interests of WNBA players are also co-founders and have significant financial interests in a league that directly competes with the WNBA for talent, for attention, and ultimately for dollars.
You are taking money out of their mouth. You're not doing them a favor. You're doing them a disfavor. Let's get right into it. WNBA latest CBA proposal would put max salary over $1.1 million with revenue sharing, AP source says. Let's get into it. The WNBA's latest collective bargaining proposal would include revenue sharing with a maximum salary of more than $1.1 million.
Think about what that conflict of interest truly means in the real world. If Unrivaled takes off, if it becomes a success, Stewart and Cloud stand to become incredibly wealthy. Wealthy beyond anything a WNBA contract, even this new improved one, could ever provide. If Project B, another league mentioned, establishes itself as a legitimate player in the professional women's basketball landscape, Ogwumike's early investment could pay off handsomely. But here's the catch for them. The critical condition for both of those outcomes to be truly lucrative: the WNBA cannot become so attractive, so financially rewarding, that players have absolutely no incentive to explore or pursue these alternative leagues.
Are you looking out for Michaela Timpsons of the world, the Damaris Dantises of the world, the Julie Alamans of the world, the De'Arica Hambys, the Azurá Stevens? Are you looking out for them? Or are you guys only looking out for your little fan club, the executive board of the Players Association? You guys are only looking out for your little selves. Are you guys looking out for, I don't know, a Rebecca Allen, a Marina Mabry, an Ari McDonald? People familiar with the WNBA's latest proposal describe the plan to the AP as a highly lucrative package, providing substantial increases over prior years.
Now imagine this: a maximum WNBA salary of $1.1 million. Add to that the endorsement opportunities that naturally come with playing in the most visible women's basketball league on the planet. Suddenly, that calculation changes drastically for players. Unrivaled, or any other competing league, might shift from being the primary place where you make your real money to being more of a place where you go to stay sharp in the off-season, or perhaps just a niche offering you might consider if you have the time. Project B, in that scenario, becomes less of a necessity and more of a novelty.
Big salaries. I'm telling you right now, if I'm Caitlin Clark, if I'm A'ja Wilson, I am calling these ladies. I don't know if Caitlin Clark's going to do that, but if I'm A'ja Wilson, I'm calling Napheesa Collier, Breanna Stewart, Onyeka Ogwumike, and I'm putting my foot up their ass. Seriously. Guys, my dream is not to play in fucking Project B. My dream is not to play it Unrivaled. I'm putting my foot up their fucking ass. If I'm A'ja, I'm swallowing my pride and I'm calling Sabrina. I'm swallowing my pride and I'm calling Caitlin. We gotta be on a unified front. The three of us gotta be on a unified front. And we gotta go head to head with those three and let them know we're not taking part in this bullshit that you guys are taking part in. We don't want to do Project B. If we do...
Let's shift gears and look at this from the perspective of the players who aren't on that executive board. Think about someone like Dana Evans, who's averaging a solid 6.8 points per game for the Chicago Sky, or players fighting for those crucial rotation minutes in New York like Michaela Onion were, or even someone like DeJounte Carrington, who's recently emerged as a key contributor for the Connecticut Sun. These players, they don't have ownership stakes in competing leagues. They don't have the massive endorsement portfolios that superstars command. What they do have is their WNBA career, and they need that career to be as financially rewarding as it possibly can be.
I don't want to put too much pressure on A'ja Wilson, but just I get that vibe from her that she'll be at least, that she might not rally Sabrina and Caitlin, but she'll at least call Stewie and Fee and Onyeka Ogwumike with her braggadocious self and be like, hey, the fuck are you guys doing over here? And if I'm Caitlin Clark, you want to stay in the dark, you kind of want to keep your image smooth, no problem with that. But you better get word to Aaron Kane, who's also Napheesa Collier's agent.
And that urgency in that question, it becomes even more critical when you consider who's coming up next. Judy Watkin is eligible for the WNBA draft in 2020. Paige Burke, assuming she stays healthy, is set to enter in 2020. And let's not forget about Hannah Hidalgo, Azzi Fudd, and Juju Watkins. This next wave of superstars is already visible. already building massive followings, and already preparing for their professional careers. If there's no 2026 WNBA season because these negotiations collapse, those young women will be forced to make an incredibly difficult choice. Do they wait a year, hoping the WNBA can somehow resolve its labor dispute? That's a full year of lost earning potential and crucial career development. Or do they sign with whatever alternative league can offer them money now? That choice could fragment the talent pool and potentially damage their long-term marketability by not starting their careers in the Premier League. This isn't some distant hypothetical concern. When the current CBA negotiations reached their previous deadline on October 31st, both sides actually agreed to extend the talks through November 30th. That extension wasn't just a formality, it wasn't automatic. It required both parties to publicly acknowledge that failing to reach a deal by that new date would, and I quote, damage the league irreparably. Now, Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, speaking before the 2025 All-Star Game, expressed optimism that a transformational deal would be in place in time for everyone to celebrate at the 2026 All-Star Game. But that statement, when you juxtapose it with the Project B revelations, really highlights the immense pressure the WNBA is currently facing. Unrivaled, for instance, is reportedly paying players $100,000 simply to participate in their 6-week 3-on-3 league in Miami. Now that's a significant amount of money. For players who currently make $78,000 for an entire WNBA season, that's life-changing money for a few weeks of work. And Project B, whatever their exact financial structure, is positioning itself as a full-season alternative with salaries that are frankly competitive. The WNBA's proposed offer is essentially their counter-strategy. Make it financially infeasible for these other leagues to compete. A player earning $1 million in the WNBA, with the platform, the visibility, and the endorsement opportunities that come from playing in a league that's finally getting national television coverage and mainstream attention, that player isn't going to abandon that lucrative situation for a startup league offering similar money but a fraction of the exposure. This offer, in essence, is saying to Unrivaled, you can be our off-season development league, but you're not going to be our primary competitor. And to Project B, it's saying, you're not going to lure away our stars, because we're going to pay them what you simply cannot afford to pay. Now that's the scenario that should send shivers down the spine of anyone who genuinely cares about the future of women's basketball. Not because stars like Aja Wilson, Sabrina Ionescu, or Caitlin Clark would struggle to find a place to play. Oh no, they would have options aplenty. Unrivaled would likely write them massive checks. International leagues would craft special contracts just for them. Individually, they would be absolutely fine. But the league itself, the entire infrastructure that has taken 28 years to painstakingly build, the television deals that are finally putting WNBA games on ABC and ESPN in prime time, the corporate sponsorships that are just starting to treat women's basketball as a legitimate, valuable investment, all of that could simply evaporate if there's no 2026 season. And here's what makes this entire situation particularly, profoundly frustrating. The players who would suffer the absolute most from a canceled season are precisely the ones that this executive board is supposed to be representing. I'm not talking about the superstars with their overflowing endorsement portfolios and abundant alternative options. I'm talking about the role players making minimum contracts, the rookies who desperately need the WNBA to exist so they have a starting point for their professional careers, the veterans who are hanging on for 1 or 2 more seasons just to secure their pension benefits. These are the players who need Nneka Ogwumike, Breanna Stewart, and Natasha Cloud to set aside their own competing business interests and negotiate in good faith for what is truly best for the collective. Not what's best for the Unrivaled business model. Not what's best for Project B's market positioning, but what's best for all 144 roster spots in the WNBA. This moment right here, it's absolutely critical. The last time the CBA expired, back in 2019, both sides actually agreed to a 60-day extension and eventually ratified a new deal in January 2020. That negotiation happened long before the pandemic. It was before the seismic social justice movement of 2020 brought unprecedented new attention to women's sports. And it was certainly before Caitlin Clark's arrival ignited a level of mainstream interest in the WNBA that we've simply never seen before. The leverage has shifted dramatically since then. The league collectively has more money flowing into it than ever before. Television ratings for the 2024 season shattered records repeatedly. Attendance figures surged. Merchandise sales exploded. The economic case for paying players significantly more money is stronger now than it has ever been in the league's history. And the league, with this offer, is unequivocally acknowledging that reality. But remember, the Players Association opted out of the current CBA in 2024 specifically because they wanted to capitalize on this moment. They saw the momentum building. They recognized the league's financial position was improving at an exponential rate. They made a strategic decision to renegotiate before the current deal expired, betting that they could secure truly transformational improvements. And now they have an offer on the table that delivers exactly what they said they wanted: revenue sharing. Dramatically higher salaries across the board, a minimum wage that actually makes it financially viable to play in the WNBA without needing to constantly seek opportunities overseas in the off-season, a maximum salary that appropriately rewards their biggest superstars, and even further improvements, like a softer salary cap that gives teams more flexibility to build truly competitive rosters. So what's the holdup? If this offer, which seems to tick so many boxes, doesn't meet the Players Association's stated goals, then what would? What additional concessions could the league possibly make without fundamentally compromising the financial viability of its franchises? Because there's a finite amount of money in the system right now, and this offer appears to be pushing right up against that limit. The 50-50 revenue split that some players have publicly mentioned as their ideal outcome, that's simply not realistic for a league that is still in the process of building its financial foundation. The NBA, a league that's been around for 78 years with established profitability across all 30 franchises, doesn't even give players 50% of revenue. They get approximately 50% of basketball-related income, which is a much narrower category that deliberately excludes certain revenue streams. The WNBA, on the other hand, is only 28 years old, and several franchises are still striving for consistent profitability. The league's overall financial picture is improving rapidly, yes, but it's not yet at a point where a 50-50 split makes mathematical sense. Owners aren't going to agree to a deal that guarantees losses, and honestly, the players shouldn't want them to, because unprofitable franchises don't last. This offer, from an outsider's perspective, represents a very sensible middle ground. It acknowledges the league's significantly improved financial position, while still respecting the reality that the WNBA is a growing entity. It provides players with immediate, substantial salary increases. It establishes a revenue-sharing framework that will, by design, grow as the league grows. It creates genuine financial security for players at every single level of the roster. If the Players Association rejects this offer, they absolutely need to articulate very clearly why they're rejecting it. Not with vague statements about wanting to be valued appropriately. They need to present specific numbers, specific revenue-sharing percentages, specific improvements to benefits. Because from where I'm standing, this looks like the league saying yes to virtually everything reasonable the players asked for. And if this offer isn't good enough, if the executive board walks away from $1.1 million maximum contracts, $220,000 minimum salaries, and guaranteed annual revenue sharing, then we have to seriously consider the possibility that they are not negotiating in good faith, that their competing business interests are in fact influencing their decision, that they are willing to potentially sacrifice an entire season and possibly the long-term health of the league itself to benefit their own alternative ventures. And that frankly would be a profound betrayal of every single player in the WNBA who doesn't have a lucrative backup plan. Every rookie counting on the draft to launch their career. Every veteran who needs just one more season to qualify for pension benefits. Every role player who's finally making enough money to not have to play overseas year-round just to survive financially. Players like Aja Wilson should be on the phone with the executive board right now, making it crystal clear that this offer needs to be taken incredibly seriously. Caitlin Clark, who is on the cusp of signing what will likely be the most lucrative endorsement deals in WNBA history and who has every single reason to want the league to thrive and succeed, should be applying immense pressure. Sabrina Ionescu, who has meticulously built her entire brand around being a WNBA star, should be demanding that the executive board provides a clear, concise explanation as to exactly why this offer is insufficient. Because if there is no 2026 season, if negotiations collapse and the league goes dark for a year, the damage will be nothing short of catastrophic. And that's not just financially, though that would be bad enough. The incredible momentum the WNBA has built over the past 2 years, the mainstream attention it's finally receiving, the palpable sense that women's basketball is on the verge of a genuine major breakthrough, all of that could simply disappear, and it won't come back easily. The casual fans who started watching because of Caitlin Clark, or because they saw a highlight on social media, they'll move on to the next trending thing. Corporate sponsors who have finally started to take women's basketball seriously as a viable investment, they'll redirect those marketing budgets elsewhere. Television networks that have generously given the WNBA primetime slots will fill that valuable programming with something more reliable, something with a proven track record. The WNBA has spent 28 long years building towards this exact moment. This offer represents the league's profound recognition that this moment has finally arrived. The players absolutely deserve to be compensated at a level that accurately reflects the immense value they are creating. Rejecting it, at this point, doesn't make the Players Association look strong or principled. It makes them look unreasonable. So the question for Nneka Ogwumika, Breanna Stewart, and Natasha Cloud is quite simple. Are you negotiating for the best interests of WNBA players? Or are you negotiating for your own personal business interests? Because right now, those two things appear to be in direct conflict. And if you choose your alternative leagues over the WNBA, you're not just hurting the league itself, you're actively hurting every single player who doesn't have the luxury of owning a competing business. The deadline is November 30th. The offer is on the table, a $1.1 million maximum contract, $220,000 minimums, Revenue sharing that increases annually. Everything the Players Association said they wanted, except or explain specifically why it's not enough. Because vague statements about wanting to be valued aren't going to cut it anymore. Not when the numbers are this undeniably clear.